the Kushites, who laid down the earliest civilization of the Nile Valley. Now keep in mind, ancient Ethiopia was much larger than the country that you see now that we'll see in a minute. Now when you look and see some of the indigenous brothers in the southern part and sisters in the southern part of Ethiopia, here that was later looked at as the feather of Ma'at. Truth, justice, and righteousness associated with an African goddess that goes all the way back to the Kushites. Especially when you see the artwork and see the early Kushites with the feather, and our Kushite Nubian paintings are identical to our brothers and sisters, in the Kushite region and the southern part of Ethiopia. Now we're talking about the indigenous culture of the Nile Valley. How did Khemet, that means black, that you may know as Egypt, how did ancient Kush, after all, Khemet came from Kush. We're talking about fallopian tube of culture here that spread down the Nile. That means that we are all one culture. Egypt is not separated from Kush. Kush is not separated from Ethiopia. They are all tied together. So let's look at the old maps. The old maps show the whole continent of Africa as what? Ethiopia. So here when you look at these old maps, the Greeks were right. The whole southern part of the continent of Africa was Ethiopia. Then there was the eastern Ethiopia. And then also, do you know that the Atlantic Ocean was not called the Atlantic Ocean, it was called Ethiopia. They came in and changed all these names and now relegated it down to just a small portion of the land that you see today. And the Sudan, that was not called that in ancient times. That was part of Ethiopia as well. As I said, Arabia, Eritrea is a result of what Mussolini and others came in and separated the land. But when you look at Khemet, or ancient Egypt as it's called, but today, the names for Ethiopia were names like Taseti. Taseti was the land of the bull that goes back 26,000 years from Europeans' research of the Royal Institute in Chicago with Keith Steele and Bruce Williams. Also, we look at the land of Taneter. This was referred to as God's land, the sacred land. That means ancient Egypt gave praise to the south. Why? Because they saw that's where their origin came from. Then also we see Ta-Nehisi is referred to as Nubia.